everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host, Rachel.
I'm Dahlia.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the power of love. If you're not doing so already, please follow us across our social media platforms at YDFL Podcast. Remember, you can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, including
Alexa.
And you can watch the shenanigans on
YouTube. And we're trying to grow our following, so if you're not listening to us or if you're not on YouTube, go on there, subscribe, listen, share with 3 friends if you like all the shenanigans that we talk about, and check out our new studio.
Check out the new studio.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into it. The power of love. Listen, let's face it. We know this. You
so
can't
that Cher song's coming on. Do you believe?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds cool.
You know, at the end of the day, we understand. Like, you can't control
who you love. Or if you get divorced or you break up with someone, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'll never do that again. And oftentimes people will, reconcile their differences and say, you know what? Or I've heard of stories, by the way, where like someone's divorced for 5 to 7 years. They have like this traumatic freaking exit divorce, and all of a sudden they're trying it again.
They get remarried. Yeah.
I've seen that, but 9 times out of 10 it ended for a reason.
That's it.
And so it ends in bad terms. But I think that the power, like anything that you do though, there's power behind the power of love, right?
Yes.
And with your kids, with your family, with your mate. And you can overcome anything if you love each other. Literally overcome most things. Anyway.
It is, it's a very powerful energy. It's a very powerful tool. Love is. It's the thing that will make us give up our lives, even for our children and stuff like that.
It will make us move across the country sometimes because you'll meet people that move to Paris or London or to Europe, or they'll move to California or to like another state because love brought you there.
Yes,
you see it a lot.
I think the biggest thing is like Selena Gomez. She says the heart wants what the heart wants, and I think that I think we've all been in those positions where you see the red flags. So often, season 1, 2, and 3, we're talking about the red flags and this and that, and if he does this, leave him or stay or whatever. And at the end of the day, we do understand. This episode is to say, like, we understand that he might have not been the greatest guy to you.
Yeah.
He might have maybe even disrespected you. He might have done whatever that we say to you, please, ladies, you deserve fresh lettuce. You shouldn't have to put up with that. But we also understand that when you love someone, you just love them. And it's so difficult to go into the world. And you might find a guy that checks all the boxes, but you don't have that
connection, yeah. I think it's like, the only way that I could describe it is like, as silly as it sounds, because I love to travel and I love staying at different hotels. It's like, you go to a hotel and then it's just like, oh, this is so cool. And always you get this like rush, this feeling.
Yes.
But then when you get home, you're like, but this is home. Like this, it feels like this is home. Yeah. And that's what sometimes people bring out of you. Like, you love that excitement, that getaway, that, oh my gosh, the entrance to the hotel, that feeling, the newness. But home is home. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, maybe it doesn't have, like, the big, beautiful chandeliers or, like, the marble floor. But home is home. And so some people bring that out of you where you're like, I don't know what it is about this person, but he's home to me. And I really love this energy that we have. And sometimes it's really hard because you go through life kind of expecting or wondering or wanting, I should say, that feeling of home.
I love and I love the videos recently that have been going viral of married couples saying, us when we're in a fight, and then it's like she still made his coffee and he still came back from the store with her favorite pastry, even though they're like pissed off at each other.
Right.
And stuff like that. And I think that that's kind of how love shows up. And,
I think that shows maturity too, because I think oftentimes, like, I've heard and I've known, like, my specific aunts that are very toxic, and I remember this
toxic aunts.
It's toxic, like beyond toxic aunts, by the way. Like, the love for them is different, and I'll tell you why. Because I remember, like, being super young and seeing this one particular aunt, and she would literally be like, I hope he gets in a car accident.
Oh.
And that's not love, you know what I mean? That's like
that's
toxic.
That's his enemy. He's like sleeping with the enemy.
And so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you saying that she still makes the coffee. Like, it's kind of like sometimes certain Latin women, they're like, she's pissed off at me, but she's still going to serve me my plate.
Yeah.
She's still going to, like, warm up my
But that cheetah's going to come out hot
as hell. It's going to be like that. It's going to be like the one chip challenge, like how everybody's doing that. It's like, okay, I made you dinner, but it's going to be equivalent to the one chip challenge. You'll be don't say I didn't get you water.
Yeah.
You're like, sorry, I forgot to bring you a drink.
Oh,
But this particular aunt, by the way, she was like, it was really surreal to me because I didn't know like that people could be so kind of evil, right? Because now in retrospect, I'm like, wow, she was on a good one because she'd be like, espero que se ponga un accidente. Like she's like, you know, like very evil about her.
The dude's on like La Rosa de Guadalupe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and so I think in my opinion, when you love somebody, even I can say this from like my parents have been together forever, and my mom and dad would have like the biggest argument, but then my mom would still make sure that, well, what do you want to eat? And then there goes my mom in the kitchen because she's like old school, and then still serve his plate, maybe not have a whole lot of conversation and dialogue, but that's just because that's their understanding and that's the love that they have for each other. And so I think that, you know, it shows up no matter what. Like when you care for someone, it always just kind of shows up.
It's going to show up. You know, the love is going to be prioritized. I think in any difficult situation,
So true.
It will absolutely come through. And I just know, but I also know on the flip side that some of us tell ourselves that it is love. It's because I love him. And really the truth is maybe you're insecure. Maybe you have internal issues you haven't dealt with. And so you're like, this feels safe.
Right.
Versus like, exploring this or knowing I deserve better or not tolerating this type of behavior. We say, well, it's because I love him, but really oftentimes it's because like we don't like
Rachel?
love ourselves or whatever.
That's so true. But have you heard this new trend that's going around? It's like about the 3 loves that you'll have in your lifetime. Have you seen that trend?
Yes.
It's supposed to be like your first love is like the childhood love, right? Like the Romeo and Juliet, like we want to be together, but we shouldn't be because we're too young, and everyone says it's puppy love.
Yeah.
Then you have the love that, you know, it just makes like the sense, right? That's a person that you end up marrying, having kids, having a whole family. And then the last love, I guess that's a love that just kind of makes sense for that part of your life. Like I don't even know
companionship.
The companionship. I don't know if I'm even saying it correctly because I probably just destroyed the whole entire analogy of like the 3 different loves.
Yeah.
But that's what they've said, and there's 3 different loves. So
which one's the true love? Was it the childhood one?
Supposedly, according to what they're saying, that was like your first true,
the very first
really
one.
Love. But the last one is the one that, you know, that you appreciate more because that's like the last love that you'll ever know.
I can see that you know, when you're so young and you fall in love, this is, you know, you hear me talk about this all the time. I wish parents, if you're a parent and you have a teenage daughter or son or whatever, I wish parents wouldn't be so freaked out about teenage love. And the reason I say that is because we're in a time where now women are getting married in their 30s and 40s and like super late in life. We just exited an era though, especially in the Latin community. If you were 21 and you weren't married, you were called a cotora. Like it was like, oh my gosh, she's never,
Santos.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like she's never. It's embarrassing. And then she'd be 23 walking down the aisle 24, and people are like, I don't even know why she's wearing why she.
And they would say something like, you know what, la rifaron. You know what that means? They
raffled her.
And that is so.
We're not that far away from that time period.
Yes.
So what I'm getting at is like, you know, you talk about, okay, the Bible and, you know, Mother Mary was 14 years old, you know what I mean, when she was getting married.
I know.
So, you know, it was not uncommon. My mom got married at 19 and it was fine. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, she's so young. It's like, that's just what it was. And so what I'm getting at is so many people that have been married for years and years and years, ask them how old they were when they met and fell in love and got married. Oftentimes it's during that weird 17 to 19 years old.
But here's the kicker to that. So when you get married that young, and this is what I've noticed, okay? When you get married that young and you have that dynamic, I always feel that the people that I've ever talked to that got married that young, they feel like they've missed out. And they feel like they missed out because, you know, they only knew, like, sorry to be so vulgar, but like they only knew one vagina, which most guys don't, but anyway.
Or one penis.
Yeah. And then they feel like there should have been more out there, because then you hear the people that get married and divorce. So don't you think it's the FOMO on both sides? Look at how many people we've met in their 40s that never got married, never had kids, and they're like, oh no, I should have married the guy from college, or that guy that I was with in high school, you know, through whatever. Like, it's exact. By the way, no matter what side of the fence you're on, everyone's looking over thinking the grass is greener on either side. Right. 1,000%. I know for me, I was a teen mom. I can now, in hindsight, say, thank you, Lord Jesus, that I did that. Thank you, Lord, that I was a teen mom, that I got married young. Like, thank you, Lord, because I can come out the other side here with my education, my career, with my experiences,
And I'm okay. I'm okay because I sit there going, yeah, I'm divorced, but I can look back and go, I did the marriage.
Look at all the things that I did
kids.
too.
I already lived that whole chapter of my life, so I'm good now.
Yeah.
Where there's so many women that I've sat at tables with for dinner, and the stories are so difficult to hear because they're sitting there, they went for the college and the career, said no to the teen love or the whatever young love because I'm too young.
Yes.
And now they have nothing and no one.
But you know what it is though, and this is something that I've noticed is like, get your education so you never rely on a man.
Yes.
Do this so you never rely on a man. Do that for you so you never rely on a man. So we're conditioning our children to believe that the woman needs to fend for herself and
because
the man
men are unreliable.
Yeah, exactly. And so at the end of the day, I think like a partnership, a marriage is a partnership. So that means that we're both coming together and that we're going to build something, whether that's family, whether that's homes, whether that's businesses, whatever it is, we're building something. Yes. We're not just coming together just because I have free sex every night. It's not that, right? And a lot of the time that we've done this show for so long that we know that obviously people are holding out on that. And so I think at the end of the day, you shouldn't be scared, like you said, okay, if it's a young love. I know I have young teenage daughters, and I do worry for them because obviously I want them to get their education, but I don't ever want them to feel like they're the man and the woman. No, you're a lady, you're a woman, respect the man. You guys have to have mutual respect. And I think it's really hard because I think that that's what the generations of today are lacking, the respect. Like, I respect you as a man, you respect me as a woman, and we're going to come together and we're going to build something, family, business, whatever.
And I think that this idea that you can only have one or the other regarding, getting your education or building your career, you got to do all that before you get married. The truth is you can do it while, and I'm proof of that. Yeah. It is difficult. So true. It can be challenging on the marriage, but all things are. If that man that you married is literally on his grind and he's building a life for you that's so phenomenal, you're not going to see him very often. Like, it's going to put strain on the marriage. So anything that you're doing to build and achieve and excel at, it's going to put weight on the marriage, and that's where the love comes in. Right. The love and the intimacy that we talk about, it's the glue, right? But at the end of the day, I think if you're a parent of a teen or you are yourself very young watching this show, just know, like, you can have both. Like, you can build, and that means your education, and you can go to college, by the way, while you're married. There's entire housing that's assigned for the married people at universities.
That's so true.
Whether it's UCLA, USC, they all have it. So
even the Army, by the way.
Yeah, they all have it. So don't have this notion that, like, you got to do all this before you do that, because you don't have a guarantee that person's going to stick around and wait for you. You don't have a guarantee that, like, you're still going to be as beautiful or attractive or as whatever. Like, there's no guarantees in life.
Nothing guarantees.
And I know beautiful women, like, I don't want to say any names, but there's this one, she's a good friend of mine, like, beautiful woman, she's in Los Angeles, and let me tell you, there's no reason why she shouldn't have been married. She's a good woman, like a good person, like traditional, but she's powerful in business. And that's what she put first. She put that first. And now I think she just turned 50. Okay. And so she's sitting there, like, very quiet.
But again, I think what happens when a woman's built herself up, like this particular person, by the way, I don't know who you're talking about, and I don't know what she's about, but oftentimes those women respectfully have a little chip on their shoulder, like, no, I did all of this without you. I don't need you. Yeah. And we understand that we as women probably don't need anybody. I get it. Like, you don't, I don't. But it's not the need, it's like the want. I don't need you, but I want you. And I want that person to want me back.
And that's I'm using her as an example because she's traditional. That's why when I say that she's soft, like, she's traditional, she's romantic, she's all the things. She's happy. She's not an alpha energy in business, even though she's risen really high. Yeah. She's feminine and all these things, but I think at the end of the day, it wasn't the priority. And at some point, when she looked up and went, "Oh wait, I'm by myself."
But I wonder how much. Okay, because like this going kind of on a little bit of a tangent, but with what you're saying. A lot of the time, you'll get these women like what you just described, and then you'll get a man that'll say, it's because they're intimidated by you. And is it really true?
I don't think so.
Is that just their freaking cop-out?
Like, I think that's the woman's cop-out. I think
they're intimidated. Like,
you'll never hear a man say, I was so intimidated by her. That's a narrative coming from women. you know what, girl, he's just super intimidated by you because
I wonder if that's what it is. Like we as women, like we, you know, obviously we
It's the
empower
blind
each other.
leading the
We're
blind.
like, hey, honey, like no,
Yeah.
he's just intimidated by you. It's like, no, he's just not that into you.
What we like, listen, we're blurring the episodes, but it's like this. If he wanted to, he would. Like,
yeah, so true.
it is, that's just what it
On
is.
period. If
yeah.
he wanted to make time for you, he would.
Yeah.
If he wanted to send you flowers, he would. If
Yes.
he wanted to ask you for dinner,
he would.
He would.
He would.
And if he's not doing that, it's because he's
Yeah.
just not that into you.
And I know that, you know, my friend in particular, trying to find love in Los Angeles is not easy. Some of the most beautiful people around the world flock to Los Angeles to find stardom, and at the end of the day, it's a challenging place, you know.
But I've heard that
try-
a lot, though.
to
By
try
the way,
that.
I've heard LA is like one of the hardest places in the world to date. But I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that everyone trying to make it in Hollywood, the most gorgeous girls, the
Yep.
most handsome men, like everyone feels they know somebody, they are somebody, and so after a while, that shit gets old.
It gets so old.
It gets old.
Yeah, but that's why I
You
say,
know?
like, the most beautiful people around the world flock to LA to
So
try
I
to make
wonder
it.
if like these people need to flock to like Kansas,
Wyoming,
Arkansas.
Hey, what's
Arkansas,
the thing?
my
You're
cousin.
looking for love. You know,
And-
you might be a 4 in LA, but you might be a 10 in like Wyoming or, you know, Illinois.
I know
Like,
that's
who
why
knows?
they have those games, right? Like where they're blah 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 in Miami versus LA
Yeah.
versus like
Yeah.
the state. Because Miami and LA, they don't.
Oh no, it's
Like at Miami,
yeah.
they're like unicorn
Yeah.
because they're just on another level. But at
You
the end
know-
of the day, I think
with love, you know, I think it's important to be very honest with yourself. I know that we have lots of conversations off camera about how, like, am I being honest with myself, you know, about what I actually want? Am I afraid to want the thing because I might get rejected? That's another thing that we talk about off camera when it comes to love.
Or Rachel also, am I afraid to receive, like say for instance,
Oh, yes.
you're a go-getter, hardworking, and then you want something equivalent too, but you understand that getting that might cost you your dignity because maybe the guy is well-to-do, and so now he feels like, yeah, Rachel, I love you, but I love that girl.
Yeah, I rebuke
And
it
so-
in the name of Jesus.
I know,
but
I
okay.
rebuke it for you too, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes there is a price to pay for certain things. We understand, like, okay, karmatically, yes, I would want someone that has his own, but does that mean that in return, I have to then give up the respect? Because it's a respect thing, right?
I think that with love, you know, it's going to make you turn a blind eye to a lot of things. And I think that I know if we're talking about me personally, I've been in the position where I've been asked if I'm willing to give up my career in order to move forward to the next level. There's 2 separate individuals over the past 10 years that went that route.
Do you want
And at the time, it was a hard and fast no because it felt like a security blanket was being taken from me, and I didn't understand.
Right.
So, but receiving love is a little bit different. Like, to be able to, that's giving up something. When we're talking about receiving, like you started with, I think that that's also true. Like being honest with ourselves to say, I want a guy who's romantic and kind and generous and considerate and all these things. But the truth is, women, a lot of us, we're coming into this like battered and all these things, right, with our emotional baggage. And then you get a guy who wants to shower you with all these things, and you're thinking, well, why did he buy me that? Is he talking to somebody else? Like, oh, now he wants to da-da-da.
We turn a little
like,
toxic,
there's a weird standoffish energy. Even in the early stages, there's like the guys that are like, oh my God, I'm doing all these things for her, and she's very like, ugh. But then the toxic guy over there that freaking ghosts you, you're over there like, oh my God, I hope that, you know, he'll like notice me. And it's like we're doing these things, and so there is this. We're not psychologists or therapists or anything, but there is something there that we've seen with ourselves that we talk off camera. We see it with other women. It's like we say we want these things when it comes to love, but are we healed or whatever to receive love?
I think that we are. I think what happens is that we have we are overstimulated, honestly. That's what it is. It's overstimulation of like, you post a picture, maybe it's not a thirst trap, but maybe it's just a picture, and all of a sudden you have like 5 people like, oh my gosh, if I could, and oh, when are you available?
Too many options is a problem too.
And then now this guy's not really paying attention to you, and you're like, well, if this guy doesn't, there's 5 other freaking guys here, and it goes back to the same thing with the guys, right? The guys have just as many options, and so oftentimes we're like, oh, you know what? Like, take a back seat because I have all these options, rather than, again, it goes back to the respecting, right? Respecting the fact that this person really likes you, wants to take you out, maybe he's a little busy, and rather than just thinking like, because we want what we want when we want it. Meaning like, he didn't call me back. Oh yeah, well now I'm going to put him into voicemail, because there's a lot of games that are being played, by the way.
Yes.
A lot of games that are being played, especially nowadays. Like we talked
and we
about
have an
this
episode
on one
about that earlier,
like where it's like, don't call him back, don't do this, don't do that, and it's so confusing.
I will say that when it's actually love, you're not going to do that. I think if it's actually love, you're not going to do those things. I think one of the gauges that we leave you with anything, it's like, if you're like, oh my God, Rachel and Delia, but how do I know it's love? Because you're not going to do that. You're not going to sit there and go overly this or overly that. Like, you're going to go, oh, no. Like,
and then if you get the messages, you're going to be like, thank you, but no thank you. And then you're going to be very respectful about like, hey, I'm actually dating someone exclusively, or I actually have a boyfriend. I mean, most people should operate in that regard.
Yes.
And so, I'm going to have to say no because I'm with someone.
Yes.
And so I think that's when you'll know, like, okay, this man has my exclusive and undivided attention, versus like, well, if he doesn't, then take a back seat because I have all these other options. And I think that you shouldn't treat people as options. You should treat them as if you
love the person.
If you love them, then you should treat them as, a priority in your life.
Absolutely. So I think that, at the end of the day, love, you're going to be able to tell because you're going to want to treat them the way you want them to treat you. And I think that that's where the real big indicator with love is. If you find yourself saying, oh no, you do this, but I'm going to go do this. There's a lot of double standards. I think that's insecurity. That's not really love. And it's a lack of trust, maybe in how they've navigated in the past and stuff like that. So it's
and then on
really
another
tough.
note too, if you've been married for 15, 20 years or more years or 30 years, just know it is not easy out here in the streets.
No.
And so I have to tell you, work on whatever it is that you have and work on that love. Work on feeling like that is home rather than thinking like vacation sounds better, meaning like someone else seems better because you're seeing all these different things on social media.
Remodel the house.
And
remodel
like just
your marriage. Your marriage. Home, like she said, a home, it's a house. Remodel it. Switch up the drapes. I'm talking about like yourself.
Your energy.
Dye your hair. Go with, start doing different activities with him.
Yeah.
You really got to lean in, because let me tell you, if you're just going to leave because of love left, it's going to circle around. We're going to do another episode about commitment where we'll dive into this deeper.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, lean into what you have already. Like they say, take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad. Like, you can do that.
Or make your house a home and just make it very cozy, and don't think that, the grass is greener on the other side. As they say
not.
That analogy always gets me. I'm always like, the grass is greener
where
over
you
there.
water it.
How you water it, fertilize it, give it vitamin D.
Yep.
On
vitamin
dirt.
Vitamin dirt.
Period.
All right, guys. Well, that's been this episode. Don't forget to check us out every Tuesday on all the platforms. And remember that you deserve fresh lettuce. Cheers.